You're listening to Free Mama Radio, where we believe you can have both a successful business and show up as the mom you want to be. I'm your host, Lauren Golden, a mom who built a full-time income working part-time hours. Now, I help other moms like you learn how to work from home on your own terms, take control of your schedule, and make more money so you can live a totally awesome, guilt-free life. I am on a mission to make sure that no mother has to choose between family and financial stability. So if you've been wondering, can I really have it all? This podcast will give you the answers. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Free Mama Radio. I'm so excited to have you guys with us here today. And you get to come along with me as I meet a new friend. And I'm so excited because I think you actually are my first interview, Sahar, with someone who wasn't already someone I had a connection with. So welcome and congratulations on all of these eyeballs, these amazing free mamas and listeners who are going to get to hear from you. So if you guys also are just meeting Sahar for the first time, Sahar, I had her correct me because you guys know if you were in the free mama community that pronouncing names is important to me. So it's Sahar Twesigye. Did I do okay?
Perfect. Yes. You did so good. Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Sahar is a business and marketing strategist, inspirational speaker, wife, and mama of 4 on lockdown presently. Her mission to help purpose-driven and heart-centered women do business, family, and life well. After launching her first wellness blog, Sahar was frustrated with the lack of traffic and decided to test drive Pinterest. Within 90 days, she increased her traffic by 300% and reached over 2 million monthly views on that platform, which is just insane. And Sahar, welcome to Free Mama Radio.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, Lauren. Thank you.
So I know we're going to dive into some Pinterest stuff because we already talked about, we are all about action taking tips, but I want to start with the motivation. So give us some backstory. What were you doing before you launched your wellness blog? What got you to the point where you wanted to launch a wellness blog? Were you always kind of entrepreneur bound or did you just stumble into this business space?
No, I actually had no idea I was going to go down this path. I did not want to be an entrepreneur prior to me starting my website. My husband is a pastor and a preacher as well. So when we got married, I was working in corporate. I was a finance manager. And then I just felt this pull to serve young people alongside my husband as well. And so I quit my job and became a full-time volunteer and started serving. And did that for like a decade. And then we started having our children, our family started growing. And of course, with a growing family, I started to feel the financial squeeze. And I was like, okay, I need to find a way to make an income while being a mom, because it was really important to me to be around while they were still so little. And so you do what you do. You go to the University of Google and you basically figure it out, right? So Googled it and figured out, okay, I could do this blogging thing. It's like, what am I good at right now? I was like, well, a lot of people in my community are talking about how we're making changes. We're kind of called like the health junkies. We've transformed our health. So I was like, you know what? I love cooking and providing healthy food recipes. So let me help other busy women and teach them how to do that through a blog. So that's kind of how I got started with blogging. I had my blog called Earth and Spoon. I don't blog on it anymore because I've done a pivot last year and started teaching Pinterest. So before I got into that, I started my blog. And, you know, food blogging is a lot of hard work because you're not just sitting there and typing and creating the content. It's also very labor intensive. You have to cook in the kitchen, you have to test recipes out, then do the photography and do the shopping. And so it was a lot of work. And when I would post my blogs past the initial stage where I launched it and everybody in my community was excited, you know, after a while, you know, people realized, okay, it's not exciting, it's not new anymore. So, you know, the viewership started to dwindle. And it was really frustrating doing all that work and then only having like 20 people read your blog post and that would be it, right? You know, I tried my hand at Google, but the problem was that I was competing with these giants, right? Like these SEO giants, these websites that had a ton of content and recipes. And I was like, there's little old me. I could just about manage a couple of blog posts a month. And so I wasn't getting that viewership from Google, even though my traffic did increase slightly with it after some time. I needed some immediate changes. So I heard about Pinterest and figured, okay, let me try my hand at that. And again, I went into full nerd mode. I learned everything I could about Pinterest, and I decided to test out every strategy. So what I'd do is every week I would sit down and I'll tweak one thing. And that was the only way I could track what was working and what wasn't working. And then I just started to build on that. And then after 3 months, my traffic jumped to 300%, and my views on the platform just kept on increasing and increasing. And in less than a year, I had over 2 million monthly views on the platform. So yeah, so that's how we got to there.
And you made it sound so simple. And I know that it wasn't.
It was not.
Like, yes. And then I did this, and then I did this. Okay. First of all, I have to tell you, Sahar, you are welcome back to the Free Mama community anytime, because you are throwing down some serious examples of stuff that I tell them constantly. But it's like, sometimes like you're either not ready to hear a message or you need to hear it differently. And so I love how you just shared your story, because there's so many pieces that I'd like to highlight, if that's okay with you. First of all, I wish the Free Mama existed back when you started your blog, because that's who I serve. That's who you're talking to right now, or those people who have been Googling, how can I make money from home? Like that is legit. That's not spammy. That's not a scam. Like it's hard, because the internet is a beautiful place, but it's also not the most trustworthy place. And someone who's watching live with us actually posted this in the chat as well, right after I wrote it down. You asked yourself, what am I good at? It's so simple. And yet so many people spend a lot of time and energy trying to be who they think they need to be, or doing the thing that they think will make them the most money. But the problem is then you can get really far out of alignment with anything that's going to bring you joy. So it's such a simple question that you asked, Sahar, but it's beautiful. What am I good at? What are skills that are inherent to me or things that I enjoy? And then how can I create leverage off of that? So that's beautiful. The other thing I want to highlight is that you said nerd mode, which basically just means we can be best friends now. First of all, I'm a giant nerd too. So like from one nerd to another, I love it. But the lesson there for all the free mamas listening, and this will actually lead me to my next question for you. When I think of nerd mode, I think of being objective. You're not taking the fact that your friends have like gone off and done other things, and maybe you're down to 20 readers, which is frustrating because of how hard you're working. But you went into nerd mode and you looked at it objectively and you said, what's the data? The data is not that I suck. The data is that I don't have enough eyeballs on this thing that I'm doing. And so what can I go learn and try and test that's not about me? It's not the emotional side, but like, what's that recipe, since you were doing a food blog? Like, what's that recipe that I can use to bring traffic? Let's start with this question, because that takes a lot of wisdom to separate the emotion from the business itself. Have you struggled with the emotional side of building a business? Like, have you had to overcome any limiting beliefs or imposter syndrome? And like, can you maybe talk about that? Because that's something that so many of our listeners encounter every single day.
Yeah, no, this is huge, Lauren. Like, I 100% struggled emotionally. And I think that's the hardest thing when you're starting out. And it doesn't help that on social media, you probably follow a lot of people in your space who look like they're killing it, right? It's hard when you're starting out because, like you're saying, you just don't have enough data and you don't have a community. And so it's very easy to start off and start thinking, because my work sucks, which it does. Everyone's work sucks when you first start out. Everybody.
You have to suck first.
Like you have to. You do. Like it's just part and parcel of it. It's very easy to say, because my work sucks, I suck. It's so easy to do that. But I think what I want to say is that the only way for you to deal and overcome that is just to remain consistent. Like it's so easy sometimes to jump from one thing to another and just keep saying the reason why this didn't work is because it's a bad idea. It's like, no, it's just that you didn't stick around long enough and remove yourself emotionally from it to test it out and try different things until it works. And I love the fact that you mentioned earlier on that it's really important to pick something that's in alignment with who you are, because I feel like when you're passionate and you feel like, yes, this is more so in alignment with me, maybe I'm skilled at this, people have told me this in real life, then it's much easier to stick it out versus just starting a business doing random stuff. Like before I did blogging, I did dabble with things. Like I remember I tried doing the eBay thing and trying to source wholesale watches, and I sold a few. It worked, but I was like, I hate this. Like, this is stupid. What am I doing? Like, I don't want to sell watches. Like, it's just not creative for me. It's not in alignment with who I am. And so I was like, forget this. Like, we'll figure something else out. So it's really important to find something that you're in alignment with. And the truth is, honestly, imposter syndrome never leaves you. As long as you're always trying something new, and that's what entrepreneurship is all about, you're always going to feel like you're an imposter. So after I pivoted from Blog, Earth and Spoon, and I decided, you know what, another way I can make income from this, I figured, is that I'm good at Pinterest. I'm just going to put it out there that I provide Pinterest services. And I had a couple of clients headhunt me and say, we need you to do for us what you've done for your blog. So I was like, yeah, sure, let's do this. Because I'm like, I need to make an income. And I remember when they first hired me, I had a panic attack in the first couple of weeks because I was like, even though I knew, like I got the results for myself, I had a panic attack because I'm like, this is someone else. I don't know if I can do for them what I could do for myself. Like I completely believed the lies in my head that I'm not good enough, I'm a phony, I'm all the things, which led to my panic attack. And I had to take some time out and do some, like deep inner work and figure out where are those lies coming from? Why do I believe these things? And it was only then that I realized, okay, this imposter thing is not going away anytime soon. So now I've just learned to cope with it. It's like, I know this is there. I know how to silence it because now I have a history. I remember last time I tried something new, I felt like a phony. And so now as we move forward, whenever I try something new, I'm going to feel like it, but it's not true. I think with entrepreneurship, when you're starting out, it is the hardest phase. As you keep moving forward, you build confidence, you have a track record, and you can pull from there and push yourself to new heights.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's always a mindset struggle. I always say in my community, there's no struggle-free life. Like, just pick your struggle. What do you want to be facing? Right? And there's the external challenges, a client that you have to let go or whatever, something always comes up, but then it's the internal challenges that are the most challenging. But like you said, when you get this history to lean on of like, no, I am someone who follows through. I am someone who finishes projects. I am someone who doesn't give up. I am somebody who has gotten people results. Like you get this like arsenal to lean back on of proof that those limiting beliefs are false. So I love that. So let's switch gears and talk more about Pinterest. So it was really organic. It sounds like that you went kind of from this blog. Mm-hmm. It sounds like maybe you were trying to monetize, but maybe not hitting your financial goals. Is that accurate? Is that
exactly? Yes.
Okay. So that's where we really pivoted into freelancing, which I have a very similar story from 2014. I thought I was going to be a famous blogger. I knew nothing about blogging and I hate writing. So it's like the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard in your life. I was telling Sahar before we started, I'm like, I started a podcast, but I love video, which is why we've started recording these live. I'm like, what was I thinking? I don't want to sit in a room by myself talking. I want to be on video and like connect with amazing humans. So again, that's that. What am I good at? What do I like? Am I in alignment? So you started freelancing and doing this support for other companies with your Pinterest, which is what so many free mamas are doing right now. They're providing a service to entrepreneurs who need to outsource something. How did that then evolve to where you are with your company today?
Yeah, so I started with a couple of clients and I started small. I was like, I don't want to overwhelm myself. Let me get the results for my clients first, get my systems down, figure out how I can do this. Whenever you start something new, sometimes it can just take over your life because you're just learning how to get it done for someone else. So I made sure that I kind of systemized everything and made it repeatable and easy to execute. Well, not easy, but straightforward. And then what happened was the pandemic hit and I lost my clients overnight. As soon as it hit the UK, my clients were like, you know what, right now, we can't afford this. We don't want to spend. So they pulled away and I was left with nothing. And so what I then did was I enrolled into a business course where I learned how to market myself. I realized from doing the course that actually, I don't want to just do Pinterest on the side. I made that transition after the course. I realized I love teaching business. And I feel like I've moved on, like I pivoted from healthy food blogging. I felt like it is something that I love, but I'm not sure that that's how I want to show up in the world. Like I feel like I love teaching business. I love marketing. I want to empower other women on how to do that. And again, I asked myself, what do I have in my hand? I was like, I've got Pinterest because I know I had my clients and I was getting them results. So that's when I decided, okay, let's do this. Let's do this properly. So I then launched my Pinterest course where I could help entrepreneurs who are still DIYing their own marketing and they wanted to find out more about Pinterest and getting more traffic to their website. And so I created my Pinterest course. And then what happened after the course, I then launched my agency. So now I wasn't just freelancing. I actually have a Pinterest agency and I have clients that I manage and I do their Pinterest marketing for them. And so that's kind of like how I made that shift to where I am today.
That's awesome. And I know that that's a path that so many free mamas see themselves taking, where they kind of outgrow the one-to-one on their own. And so then and I love, like you walked through so much of what I teach at that higher level of, you have to make it systemized so that you can make it repeatable, so that you can have the team and have the ability to then teach that skill set to other people. So much wisdom in all of that. I also really picked up on what you said about like, you love the health and wellness, you love the food blog, but you realize like you can love that and do it in your personal life. And it doesn't mean that it has to be your business. And there's so much messaging, I feel like, out there for women starting businesses. And it's this fine line between what am I good at and am I in alignment versus like, do what you love and never work a day in your life. And that's awesome. Like I love what I do and I bet you do too. But I think we have to have the discernment to look at, just because you can do something or just because you love something doesn't mean that it has to be a business. You can just love something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like, how do you find the difference, the distinction between I love this and I'm good at it, or I love this, I'm good at it, and I'm going to monetize it. And just knowing that you can have your passions and hobbies and they don't all have to become business ventures. So I love the wisdom in that. We are all about action taking tips. So I would love for you to share your 3 tips for anybody listening right now who is like, okay, this sounds bomb. I love Pinterest. I'm on it all the time anyway. I might as well get paid for these skills. What are 3 tips for somebody who wants to get started with Pinterest, either for their own business or to potentially get ready to leverage to do what you do and provide it as a service to other people?
I'll probably tackle it in 2 different ways. So if you want to use it for your business, what I would say is the first thing you want to do is find out whether your audience is on that platform. Now, the best way to do that is to actually go on to Pinterest, just like you do with Google. So, you go on Google and you're looking to buy something, right? So you start typing in the search bar and then it starts listing some ideas or suggestions for you. That's a list of keywords, which basically tells you that you're not the only person looking for this, other people are. So Pinterest has the exact same thing. You can go onto the search bar and start typing in the kind of keywords that your clients or your customers, your future clients and customers would be looking for. So for example, let's say you have a business or you want to start a business with accounting, for example. You're like, I know how to do bookkeeping, for example. So are there any people looking for bookkeeping stuff on Pinterest? So you should go on there, type that in, bookkeeping tips, and see what comes up. As you're typing it in, Pinterest will provide a list of keywords and suggestions for you. It shows you this long list of colored bubbles with words in them underneath the search once you type in enter. And it shows you a more detailed list of keywords that people are typing in. So explore them. Usually if you don't get those, or if you don't see that many keyword suggestions that are relevant to what you're typing in, usually gives you a good idea that probably people aren't on there. That's the number one thing I'd say. Make sure you do that. Go do your research first and check out people's boards. How are they saving this stuff? Check out the kind of content that's on there. That will give you an idea of how you can show up online and how you can separate yourself as well. So don't try to copy people, see what everyone's doing, and then figure out how you can be different. So that's number 1. Number 2, I'd say is make sure you create a business account. And that is really important for you because it's going to allow you to have a profile that shows people that you're a creator. It also sends a signal to Pinterest that to prioritize you as a creator. So it's going to show your pins and give it more distribution, say, versus you having a personal account. And then thirdly, I'd say make sure that you claim your website. And that's something you can do in the settings. When you go claim your website, what happens is Pinterest connects your profile to your website. And then what starts happening is that it shows your logo and it shows your content and your pins in a format that creates a better user experience. So it highlights your titles, it brings out the descriptions from your website, and it can do some pretty cool nerdy things as you get more into it. Like if you have a product, it can list your prices and descriptions. So as it's changing on your website, it's going to be updated on Pinterest. So these are some really cool features for you to do. So I'd say do that. And then lastly, I'd say make sure that you include keywords in your boards, so your board titles, your board descriptions, your pins, the titles, descriptions, as well as your profile. Because when you include keywords that people are searching for, that's how you show up on the platform. If you do not include keywords, your content, your profile, nobody's going to see anything. So the number one thing that I like telling people is that Pinterest isn't a social media platform. It's more like a search engine and discovery platform. So search engines need work with keywords. You don't use keywords, you're going nowhere. So if you take anything from today's interview, if you want to use Pinterest, is keywords.
I am not a Pinterest expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I love marketing. Sometimes we get so close to our own business or even our clients' businesses that we forget, how do I behave as a consumer? What do I do when I want something? Well, that's what the people you're trying to connect with are also doing. So you've got to like reverse engineer.
Love that.
As opposed to just like, oh, this is my business and I just want to like talk about it and show it. And no, it's how the person who's looking for that thing, what are they doing? And you've got to kind of get in the consumer's head. So true. Definitely a search engine, not a social media platform. I love it. And you've got something, I think, to give away, 7 Proven Pinterest Strategies Handbook. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I hope it is.
What if I made that up and I'm like, could you just create that for everybody? That would be really remarkable.
Yeah. So I have a free Pinterest guide and handbook. It has everything you need to get started. So it's a detailed 30-page guide. It's free. And I'm sure Lauren's going to share the link with you guys so you can head over there and download it and get started with Pinterest.
Yeah, you guys can always find our show notes, freemamaradio.com. So we'll get them put in this episode. Well, I have one more question for you, Sahar, before we wrap up.
Yes.
The mission of the Free Mama is to make sure that no mother has to choose between family and financial stability. And it sounds like from hearing your own story that probably resonates with you because that's kind of what got you in business in the first place. Knowing that and knowing what we kind of already talked about today, do you have any final words of wisdom or pieces of advice that you'd like to share with all of our listeners today?
Yeah, I'd say the main thing is when you're starting out, sometimes we get stuck in analysis paralysis. We overanalyze and overthink everything to the point where we just don't take action. And so what I want to say is sometimes, like I shared in my story, right? I started with, it's like, what do I have in my hands that I could just serve people with? And it was a healthy food blog, like healthy food recipes. And I only got the clarity that this isn't it after I took action.
Yeah.
Right. And it's very easy. One could easily look back and say, oh, I should regret that. Was that a mistake? And 100% like that is not true. Like, I love the fact that I took action. I consistently look back at the old Sahar and I'm always thanking her for just taking a leap of faith and stepping out, because even though that wasn't it, it led me to where I am now. I would not be able to do what I do now had I not started that blog. There were so many skills that I learned and people I connected with and the confidence that I've built. Like, I've transformed as a person completely. So what I want to say is don't overthink things. Just take action. The transformation happens as you take the next step. You don't have to have the end goal figured out. All you need is to know what your next step is and take it. And then the next day, when the next step becomes clear, take it. And that's all it is. That
was unbelievable. I have nothing else to add. That was exactly what the Free Mamas needed to hear. That was phenomenal. Thank you so much. I know as you were talking, I was like, I want to like virtually hug
high five.
You. And like, yeah, she's like, oh, I'm not a toucher. No. Okay. I'll hug you next time I meet you in real life. She's like,
yes.
No, I'm such a toucher. I miss people. Can you tell? I'm like,
I am too.
That was seriously beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your talents, your expertise, your story, your gifts, your words of wisdom. It was just lovely to get to meet you and introduce you to all of the Free Mamas. And we will tell you guys how you can connect with Sahar again in the show notes. So head over to freemamaradio.com. If you guys liked this episode, which I know that you did, as it airs, take a screenshot, share it with us, tag us on Instagram. We'll share it in our stories. Sahar, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I absolutely loved it. And it's my honor. So thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you next time. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Free Mama Radio. Don't forget to check out Free Mama TV right here on YouTube for hundreds of how-to videos and interviews to help you start, grow, and scale a virtual business from home. If you want to join a community of tens of thousands of moms just like you, make sure you join the Free Mama Movement group over on Facebook. And lastly, if you want to learn more about how we can do this together, work to achieve your goals, and make you our next success story, check out my free training at thefreemamamovement.com. I'll see you next time.